You ever stop and think about what a real fight looked like back in the Crusades? Not some movie scene or a staged duel at a Renaissance fair. I'm talking about raw, filthy, bone-breaking combat. A real Crusader wasn't just some guy in shiny armor posing for a painting. He was a war-forged machine, molded by constant violence, bloodshed, and pain. These men didn't train for aesthetics or Instagram reels. They trained to kill, to survive, to push through battlefields soaked in mud and blood, surrounded by screaming, dying men. You wouldn't last 10 seconds because your body isn't built for that world, and more importantly, your mind isn't. A Crusader could carry 30 kilograms of armor like it was a second skin. Chainmail, breastplates, helmets, swords, shields, all weighing down on his body. And yet he'd keep moving, keep swinging, keep killing. His sword alone. That thing weighed more than your gym dumbbells, and he'd wield it for hours. There were no breaks, no water bottles, no stretching routines. Just instinct, pain, and purpose. His hands were calloused, muscles dense from labor, not leisure. You think that guy would be intimidated by your deadlifts and protein shakes. He wouldn't even notice. You'd be gassed out in seconds, winded by fear before you even touched the blade. And here's the thing. This isn't some mythical exaggeration. It's fact. These men marched across continents, fought for months in brutal campaigns, with no medical care, no modern gear, no mental health days. You sit at a desk 8 hours a day and wonder why you'd never survive a single clash. The truth is they were built different, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And no, that's not a diss. That's a reality check. But it wasn't just the armor or the sword that made a Crusader deadly. It was what was going on inside his head. That's the part people forget. We look at the Crusades today through documentaries and dusty textbooks, but we don't stop to think about the belief driving those men. These weren't mercenaries chasing gold or bored nobles looking for glory. Many of them genuinely believed they were fighting for something eternal, something that stretched far beyond their own lives. When a man steps onto the battlefield thinking death is not the end but the beginning of his reward, you're not just fighting muscle. You're fighting absolute conviction. And that's terrifying. Imagine standing face to face with someone who thinks killing you is doing God's work, and dying in the process is his ticket to heaven. That's not just dedication. That's something else entirely. It's faith weaponized. You can't compete with that. It's not just physical strength, it's spiritual momentum. Crusaders didn't hesitate. They didn't second guess. Their minds were fortified by prayer, purpose, and a promise of eternal life. That kind of mindset turns fear into fuel and pain into power. While most of us are paralyzed by the thought of loss, failure, or death, these men charged forward because of it. Now compare that to the modern mindset. We're conditioned to avoid discomfort at all costs. We seek safety, convenience, and endless reassurance. We overthink every move, stress over what people think, and need a motivational quote just to get out of bed. And it's not our fault entirely. The world we live in rewards comfort, not courage. But let's be honest. When you put that kind of soft conditioning up against someone driven by blind, burning belief, who's walking into battle already prepared to die, the outcome is obvious. No. You wouldn't last 10 seconds. Not because you're weak by nature, but because you've never been forced to believe in something so deeply that you'd bet your life on it. That's what made Crusaders terrifying. Not just the armor, not just the sword, but the soul inside it. You can train strength, you can buy gear, but you can't fake conviction. And back then, conviction is what killed. Think about the difference between someone who's lived through real hardship and someone who's only experienced life with all the comforts of modern technology. Crusaders were forged in a world where discipline wasn't optional. It was survival. These men grew up learning obedience, loyalty, and endurance from a young age, drilled into them by families and communities that depended on strength to protect their lands and beliefs. You compare that to today, where most people rage, quit at a slow Wi-Fi connection, or complain when a workout gets tough. It's not just about physical strength, it's a total mindset. While you're busy scrolling your phone, a Crusader was busy sharpening his sword and sharpening his resolve. They didn't have the luxury to back down or take a day off because they felt tired. They pushed through pain, wounds, and exhaustion because their very lives depended on it. Imagine waking up every day knowing you could be fighting for your life in hours. No excuses, no distractions. Today, resilience is measured by how long you can go without caffeine or how many Instagram likes you get. Back then, resilience meant standing tall when your body screamed to collapse and facing down enemies who wanted to kill you. The truth is, modern toughness is often just a surface-level idea. It's about gym selfies and motivational quotes. But real toughness is being able to withstand the mental, physical, and emotional storms without flinching. Crusaders embodied that every single day. They lived and breathed a level of discipline and endurance most of us can't even imagine. So when we say you wouldn't survive 10 seconds against a real Crusader, it's not just about the sword or armor. It's about that iron will, that relentless grit forged over years of training and hardship. In today's world, that kind of mindset is rare. That's why you'd fall before the fight even begins. This isn't just a story about Crusaders or medieval battles. It's a wake-up call for all of us. It's easy to get caught up in nostalgia or fantasy and forget what those men really represent: a level of grit, discipline, and purpose that feels almost extinct today. If hearing that you wouldn't survive 10 seconds against a Crusader bothers you, that's exactly the point. It's meant to challenge you, to make you uncomfortable. Because maybe deep down, you know we've lost something vital. We live in a world that rewards comfort, convenience, and instant gratification. We're surrounded by distractions, endless entertainment, and an expectation that everything should come easy. But that's not how real strength is built. Real strength comes from struggle, sacrifice, and pushing beyond what you think is possible. The Crusaders remind us that there was a time when men stood for something bigger than themselves, when their lives had a purpose so clear and so powerful that fear didn't stand a chance. This isn't about glorifying violence or war. It's about recognizing what we've lost as a society: resilience, discipline, and a sense of purpose that drives us to be better every day. If you want to stand tall like those warriors, you have to start by facing the weaknesses inside yourself. The laziness, the distractions, the fear of discomfort. Build your body, sharpen your mind, and find a cause worth fighting for. Because until you do, the real battle isn't against swords or armor, it's against the softness we've allowed ourselves to sink into. So yes, you wouldn't survive 10 seconds against a real Crusader. But the bigger truth is, none of us will survive in this world without reclaiming that warrior spirit inside. It's time to wake up and fight. Not for survival in battlefields of old, but for survival in today's world.